Hello. Today I'm going to do a brief overview of using the fraction format in Microsoft Excel. And in addition to just using the fraction format, which is something that's relatively common in the formats that are available in Excel, I'm going to show you how to reduce your fractions, the fractions that Microsoft produces, to the lowest common denominator. First, as you can look at my screen, you can see that I have a set of numbers in column A that I've entered in decimal form. These run from 0.0625 to 0.9375, so that's from 1/16th to 15/16 in decimal form. And then in column C, I have formatted the exact same numbers as a fraction using the fraction format that Microsoft Excel has, and I'll show you the format here real quickly. You can see that I have chosen fraction and as sixteenths in the choices that are there. So click OK. The problem that we run into when we do that with Excel is that you get things, you get fractions that no matter if the fraction can be reduced, it still displays it as in a number of sixteenths. So if I highlight those really quickly, you can see that I've got 2/16, which would be reduced to 1/8. Normally, probably, if you were talking about this in normal conversation, 4/16 would be a quarter, 6/16 would be 3/8, so on and so forth. So Excel doesn't do that that calculation, that reduction. So what I want to do here is go through is a real brief demonstration of how you can take care of that, how you can reduce that, and you can use the formulas that we do here to reduce fractions in the future if you ever have a need to do that. So on my other tab here, you can see that I've set up a very similar thing. In column A, I have input values, and these are just I just went from 14.05 and I incremented the values 0.05 as they go down. They could be just random numbers. It's up to you. I just put in some numbers, and then in column B, you can see that I have linked to the adjacent number in column A. And I have formatted these again. They've been formatted as fractions and as sixteenths. So those are set up basically exactly the same way they were on the other page. And you can see on a couple of these, and you can see in rows 3 and 4, that the fractions are actually rounded, because 14.1 is not exactly equal to 14 and 2/16 or 14 and 1/8. You can notice that 14.1 and 14.15 both round to 14 and 2/16 or 14 and 1/8. So we have that a couple places on here as well. So if you're using a fraction format that's down to a sixteenths or 1/16th, your maximum error in this is 1/32. So that's pretty close. So if you were doing this rounding, and it's a fairly small amount of error, but just be aware that there is rounding that takes place, and Excel does that automatically. So what we need to do is we need to use some conditional formatting to get Excel to reduce these fractions for us, because there are other fraction formats that we can use. So the first thing that I'm going to do to be able to do that is I'm going to truncate the existing numbers. And so to do that, Microsoft has an Excel for truncate, and ironically enough, it is the word truncate truncated, TRUNC, and it has two arguments. And the first argument is the number itself, which I can choose either the number from column A or the number from column B. I'm going to choose the number from column B. The second argument is the number of the number of digits to the right of the decimal place that you want, and I don't want any, as I want just the whole number. And I close my parentheses and I hit enter, and you can see it truncated to 14. I'll drag that down really quickly, and you can also see that if I were to come back and change this to something else, you can see that that the formulas all change and it truncates it. So I didn't just copy the text or something like that. It's actually copied the formula down here. So and that happens. So you can plug in any random number that you want once we're done here, and get it to do this translation relatively easily. So now that I've truncated the whole number portion, I want to isolate the decimal portion of the fraction portion of this number as well. And there's a couple ways. The easiest way to do it is just to take and set up a formula and take the original number from column B and subtract from that the truncated number from column C, and that gives you the fraction portion. And again, I'll drag that one down because it's the same all the way through, and you can see that the decimal portion is the same as the decimal portion or the decimal portion of the fraction portion is the same as that in column B. So that was successful. Now, what we need to do for the conditional formatting to get Excel to do this is that we need to isolate what the numerator is. And you'll recall from the other tab, and I'll go back to it here real quickly, that all of the even numbers could be reduced. None of the odd ones, but only the even ones. So numerators, and the numerator is the top number, the denominator is the bottom number. The numerator, numerators of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14 can all be reduced. So we want to be able to reduce those. And again, as different inputs are put in column A, this can change. So we want to make sure that we set up formulas here that will do the translation automatically, and we won't ever have to come back and change this. So what I'm going to do is set up in the numerator. The easiest way to get the numerator of a fraction is to simply multiply the fraction times the denominator. The denominator again is the bottom number. So if I took the fraction here and I multiply that times the denominator, which the denominator is always the same in all of these, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply it by 16, and you can see that I come up with 13 16ths, and I have this formatted as a fraction. I'm going to go ahead and change the format here really quickly and change it to, oops, I'm going to change it to general, and so that you can see that I have a problem, because this should have this one should have generated 1, this one should say 2, these should say 2, this should say 3, 4 came out right, but you can see it's a little bit different than what I was expecting. And the problem is that, again, remember that 14.05 is the number. It's not really 14 and 1/16, because 14 and 1/16 is 14.0625. So Microsoft Excel has rounded the number. So what I need to do is when calculating the numerator, I need to do the same function that Microsoft did when it converted this to a fraction in the first place. So I'm going to use the round function, which is an easy to use function that we can do, and I'm going to keep the multiplication problem that I did as the first argument, and then the second argument I'm going to is the number of digits that you want on the right side of the decimal place. So it's very similar to the truncate command. So, and again, I want no decimal places, so I'm going to type 0 and then close the parentheses, and then I'm going to hit enter. And you can see that changed the 0.8 to 1, and if I drag that down, you can see that all of them change, and they match the numerator in the numbers, the fractions in column D. So that was successful. So now what I want to do is I want to come over here to the conditional fraction column, and I simply want to link those to the numbers in columns, either column A or column B. It doesn't make any difference. And then I want to drag those down, and you can see that I have set the format here to fraction as 16ths as well. It's already set like that. That's the base format that I want, and that's good. That's the way I want that to be set up. And so I'm going to click OK. But what I want to do is I want to come up here to this conditional formatting icon on the ribbon up here, and I want to click that. And you notice down here I've got choices of things that you new rule or manage rules. I'm going to click manage rules. You could click new rule if you wanted to, but I like to do it this way, and that's just me. So you can do it however you like. But anyway, I'm going to type new rule. So what I know as I do this is that numerators of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14 can and should be reduced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a new rule, and there's a couple different choices that you can do here. And the first one is, or the last one rather, is use a formula to determine which cells to format, and that's the one I want to do. So I'm going to click that, and it gives me this this little box here, and it says format values where this formula is true. And if I click and get my cursor in there, I'm going to say I'm going to come over here and click E2, and you'll notice that it makes it an absolute reference. It uses the dollar signs, which means that if you drag this formula down, it will not change these. I don't want that because I want it to be a relative reference. I want it to be a reference to the cell, the adjacent cell in column E for the formatting in each of the cells in column F. So if I left it like this, then the format for, let's say, column F8 would be determined by the numerator in column E2, and I don't want that. I want it to be determined by the numerator in column E8. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just remove the $1. So I'm going to go ahead and remove them both because it doesn't really make any difference. And then that way we're for sure set. And then I'm going to hit equals 2 because I'm going to set up the rule for when the numerator equals 2. I'm also going to go ahead and copy this so I don't have to type it again. So now that I've set this up, when E2 equals 2, so when the numerator equals 2, I want to choose the format that needs to pop up when that happens. So I'm going to pick the fraction format, and I'm going to pick, so if the numerator is 2, then 2/16 can be reduced to 1/8, and so I'm going to choose 8ths and click OK, and then click Apply. And you can see that my cells here, F4 and F3 and F4 were changed to 1/8 from 2/16, which is what we wanted it to do, which is very effective. So that was what we wanted. I'm going to go ahead and do the new rule because we have to go through and do a rule for each of the even numbers, and I'm going to go ahead and get on to the next even number, which is 4. So I pasted my formula back in there, but I changed it to 4 instead of 2, and I'm going to go ahead and pick my format again. And again, I'm going to choose fractions, and but this time 4/16 equals a quarter, so I'm going to choose quarters, and I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK one more time, and I'm going to click Apply. And you can see that I had in this column, or rather in row 6, I had 4/16 as the fraction portion before, and it's been changed to 1/4, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So we check that. We're going to go forward, and I'm just going to go ahead and plow through the rest of these really quickly so that we can get it done. And 6 is gonna reduce to 3/8, so I'm going to choose 8. So I'm going to click OK, OK, Apply, New Rule, Formula. I'm going to paste the old formula in there. And again, this doesn't take very long. It's just making sure that you remember what you're doing. The fraction for 8/16 would reduce to halves, so I'm going to click OK there. OK, Apply. I don't have to click Apply every time. I could click it once at the end after the new rules, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. So I'm going to change this to when the numerator is equal to 10. Format that, and that will come to 5/8. So I want fraction and 8ths, and OK, and OK, and Apply. And I've got 2 more rules for numerators of 12 and numerators of 14. So go ahead and get those knocked out and locked in here. And so 12/16 comes to 3/4, so I want that as quarters again. And click OK, click OK, click Apply. New rule, one last rule, and that is for if the numerator is 14, and I'll pick the format as 8ths because 14/16 is 7/8. So as I click that, and I apply that. So as you can see, all of my conditional formatting has converted the fractions that could be reduced from 16ths to either halves, quarters, or 8ths, depending on the type of, or rather, the numerator in that function. So so we've successfully completed our mission here and got this accomplished. I'm going to go ahead and click OK on the conditional formatting rules manager, and we've pretty much got what we needed there. So it's important to demonstrate that this is, you could do this for a big long line of numbers if you wanted to. I could type in 52 point whatever fraction I want here. I better put a decimal place in there though. And if I hit that, you can see that it goes ahead and does, and there was a formula here to increment this by 0.05 every time, so those are all linked. But irregardless, you can see that it does the math, and you can see the one that rounds to having no fraction portion here. It just gives you the whole number. So this is a very clean and easy way to do it. If you had something that where you had a number of these that you needed to do, this would be a very handy way to do it, and it works very well. So again, if you wanted to do this, you could have the you could extend this conditional formatting for the entire column or whatever it is that you wanted to do that was appropriate for your situation. But in any case, this is how I would do it. It's the easy way to reduce your fractions in Excel using conditional formatting. There are some other fraction formats in there that don't lend themselves to this very easily, but then again, they're kind of strange. They've got tens and hundredths, and then they've got some other formats that again they just don't. It's not something that I think anybody finds very useful. So this is something, like I said, this is very useful if you've got something that you need to measure with a tape measure or whatever it is that you need to do. It's very easy to convert that. So so this is how we do it. If you're interested in checking out this file, you can download it at danbartlett.net/excel.htm. I've got some other resources there as well. Be sure and check it out and visit me there. Thanks a lot.